isn't it, Phil? Good morning and welcome this morning to our live broadcast from the Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce. This morning we're really fortunate to have Phil Patterson from the BNZ Business Partners here in Lower Hutt, and I know Phil works with across the whole country as well with all his colleagues, and has some fabulous insights to share with us around the Business Finance Guarantee scheme for us. So welcome, Phil, nice to see you.
Morning, Helen. Morning, everybody.
Thanks. So Phil is BNZ Partners are a platinum partner with the Hutt Valley Chamber of Commerce and have supported us for many, many years. We do tech series events with Phil every quarter, profiling many of the manufacturing and tech companies we've got in the Hutt Valley. And of course, we also we actually bank with the BNZ too. So fabulous to have your support, and thanks for sharing your expertise with us this morning. I'll hand over to you, Phil.
Wonderful. Thank you, Helen. Earlier in the month, Minister Robertson announced the Business Finance Guarantee Scheme. And what I'd like to do this morning is to take you through a little presentation that we've put together. It's designed for BNZ clients, however, will be relevant to essentially anyone in business. So I'm just going to share my screen with you now. Fingers crossed. If I can find it, there we go. All right, now I'm hoping you can see the screen. Otherwise, this might all go a little bit pear-shaped. But what I want to talk about this morning is some of the funding options that business has as we work our way through the COVID-19 pandemic. So first option we'll look at here very, very quickly in terms of home lending. Borrowers have the ability to move to minimum principal and interest repayments. You can move to interest-only terms, or you can take what's referred to as a home loan repayment deferral, and that can be up to a period of 6 months. There's pros and cons with each of the options. So it is advisable to talk to your advisor around what is the best option in your own individual personal circumstance. For business, various funding options. So you can request of your bank a temporary overdraft. You can move any of your existing loans to interest only. You can look to extend the working capital term for things such as trade finance. You can apply for a standard business loan under normal bank terms. Alternatively, if you qualify, you may be able to get funding under the Business Finance Scheme. So the headlines on the scheme. So it's available for businesses with revenue 250,000 to 80 million. The maximum borrowing amount is $500,000. The loan is over a 3-year term, and interest rates will vary, but you can expect something between high 2s or mid 4s. With these facilities, no fees will apply. You can only have one entity per guaranteeing a group applying for a facility, and what I mean there is, say you're Bob's Plumbing and you have Bob's Plumbing in Auckland, Bob's Plumbing in Wellington, Bob's Plumbing in Christchurch. Only one of those companies can apply under the scheme where there's common ownership. It can't be used to fund dividends, and I'll cover that a little bit further on the next slide. It can't be used to refinance any existing debt that you currently have. So you can't add a existing $200,000 loan into a new requirement of $100,000 for a $300,000 loan. It is only for new debt. It can be used, however, to refinance short-term debt. That is any debt that was raised after the announcement of the scheme or after the 16th of March. Any existing facilities you have must be drawn first, and working capital facilities don't need to be drawn first. With the facilities, GSA, General Security Agreement, is mandatory, and shareholders' guarantees are going to be required in most circumstances. There are some exclusions, and they're listed there on the screen. But overall, most industries, businesses will be eligible for a BFS. As part of the arrangement, customer information to government via the bank is mandatory. So how does this all look in practice? The one thing I'd like to stress is it's a loan. It's not a subsidy. It's not a gift. It works exactly as any normal loan does. So it does need to be repaid. In essence, the government's entered into a loss sharing agreement with the banks. So in the event that we are required to call up a facility, the bank will go through its normal recovery process, and then any residual amount still owing, the 80-20 loss sharing agreement will be entered into between the bank and the government on an 80-20 basis. So as I mentioned earlier, it's a perfect opportunity to move any temporary facilities that you put in place post 16th of March onto a BFS loan. These loans must be fully drawn by the 30th of September, and you can stagger your drawdowns through until the 30th. Can be repaid in full or in part anytime after 30th September, and no redraw option is available. Where you have a business that is owners paying themselves by way of dividends, you'll need to restructure that onto a salaried basis. Some of the structures we're looking at with clients is interest-only terms for 6 to 12 months with repayment over the remaining 2 or 2.5 years. What I'd suggest is if you are interested in the scheme, that you do get your applications in early because there is quite a big demand for the facilities. There is, for BNZ clients, a inquiry form on our website, or you can speak to your relationship manager. One of the things with the scheme is that you must provide a business plan when applying for a BFS loan. So your application. So the business finance scheme has been put in place to get you through the pandemic, and your recovery plan or business plan is really for your bank a bit of a deal breaker. So the critical thing to have a think about is how long is it going to take to get you back to break even. Then you can establish what you'll need. When lending, banks typically look at historical performance, financial performance. We're in a bit of a new world here, and your future business plan is equally important. And that's around sales, costs, margins, cash flow. The future view is very, very important for your banker. What you can expect is any assumptions that you make to be tested and for the bank to sensitize potentially some of the numbers you're looking at. And you need to be able to demonstrate a number of things: that you've still got a core market for your product and service, your customers, are they still going to be in business? The customers that you have or had, will they buy from you and not from competitors? That you can deliver to your customers and collect your debtors. If you're an importer or exporter, how are the border restrictions going to impact on you? Your suppliers, supply chains, is that still valid? Have you got good advisors around you? And importantly, can you repay the facility within the 3-year term? Your banker will be sitting there and reflecting on, okay, well, what is this business's strategy? You know, do they have a strategy for 2 to 3 years, and how will it trade post-COVID? A strategy, is it supported by a business plan and a cash flow, including forecasts with assumptions that the directors, shareholders can articulate and make sense? The next thing is capability. Does the business have the capability in its people, its market position, and industry to be able to execute the strategy? And cash. Does the business have access to cash so the need for debt and the risk that additional debt entails is minimized? What does the customer's balance sheet look like? Can it liquidate any assets? Can the shareholders and directors inject more funds? These are all things that will be going through the mind of your banker. And final thoughts. All customers and business owners should be seeking independent professional advice regarding their go-forward options, whether that be your accountant, whether that be your business advisor. Please reach out. The thing we've learned from things such as GFC is that those businesses that can navigate the challenges move quickly to adapt. If you haven't already, apply for wage subsidies. Talk to your landlord about rent holidays or deferrals. Can you get extended terms from your creditors? Have you spoken to the IRD? Can you collect debtors quicker by offering prompt payment discounts? And have you thought about deep discounting in terms of turning stock into cash? All right, that's pretty much all I wanted to run through this morning. Hannah, are you there?
Great. Thank you, Hannah, for bringing me back in on that. Thank you, Phil, for sharing that. I haven't looked at the scheme deeply, so it's good to get that overview and to understand some of the process that people go through. Can I ask you a couple of questions? Is it all right? Around what you're seeing in terms of the business finance guarantee scheme. Are you seeing many applications yet? Are they starting to come through already or not?
Absolutely. So when the scheme was announced, a number of customers were very quick to get inquiries in. The actual process between the bank and the government, all of the banks and the government, took a number of days in terms of finalising the process and policies that go behind it. But I think the last count nationally, we've received just over 700 applications for the scheme.
Wow.
And I think in terms of volumes, about 200 million worth of volume so far. And so the overall package that the government announced, I think from memory, is about 6.25 billion. Of that, I think BNZ's share of that is about 1 billion. So whether it will be exhausted or not, time will tell, but certainly there is interest in the scheme.
Right. And is it normally the very large businesses that are going to apply for this, or do you think it suits some of the smaller businesses and medium-sized businesses as well?
Absolutely. It suits small and medium-sized business. The turnover requirement of 250,000 is achievable for a number of businesses. What I would say is if you don't turn over that level of funding, please still don't hesitate to reach out to your bank, because there are other options that your financier can look to provide.
Right. Okay. One of the things that I've been thinking about a bit with talking to businesses is that for some businesses, the post-COVID lockdowns, there's quite a lot of growth opportunities as well. And I think sometimes that's when businesses actually struggle to find the cash flow to fund growth. Do you think people will apply for these schemes because they're funding very real growth, as opposed to not just seeing this as a rescue option?
The intent of the scheme is to enable customers to get through, and that's where the priority is. One of the things I mentioned and hopefully mentioned in the presentation is it's for operating expenses. It can't be used for capital expenditure. So some may see it that way, but really it's about giving businesses the opportunity to see through this period and get back to they were pre-COVID. Right.
Okay, cool. Thanks for that. And how does he actually do it remotely, since the banks aren't face-to-face so much right now? And is it pretty easy to organise it? Are you using Zoom or different tools and just a combination of email and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. So we don't necessarily utilise Zoom too much, but we do have a different software in terms of Teams that we use, and so our bankers can connect as we are now, or by phone. But no, we're all adhering to the lockdown, so everyone's working away feverishly from kitchen benches or garages or lounge rooms.
Great. Okay. I'm not sure there's any other questions. There were just some that I thought of while we were chatting. I just thank you very much, Phil, for sparing the time. I can see that, you know, you must be run off your feet with lots of people looking at their finances. And of course, one of the first things many did was sit down and try and save some money and cut their budgets and estimate what was going to happen to their revenue. So budgets are top of mind. So appreciate the local support, you know, for local businesses. It's a really good thing, and thank you for coming on this morning. The other thing I'd just like to say for viewers is that the government does have an advisory fund available as well to help people prepare their business plan going forward and to how to get out of COVID-19. And perhaps, you know, some of the outputs, if you are interested in getting some of that advisory funding to help you prepare your business plan for the bank, or to help you think around what you need to provide to the bank for a business finance guarantee option, then contact the chamber, and we can help you by putting you in touch with the right people to get you a little bit of funding just to get that business plan sorted, because it's a crucial part of the whole crucial step in the whole process, it seems. So, and it's really important regardless of banking funding. Sorry, Phil, but you know, the bank needs it, but you'll need it as well. So, and that could maybe help you meet some of the requirements to get on this scheme with some additional finance. Okay, so is there anything else you want to add or anything, Phil?
No, all I would say is please don't be afraid of your bank or your banker. Please reach out. We are here to help. We are here to provide solutions and help everyone get through. In terms of the guarantee scheme, business.govt.nz has a lot of information on there on the scheme itself and qualifying criteria. So please do some research. Please feel free to email me also. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. And thanks for joining us today. Have a good day.
No worries.